What if the familiar narratives of ancient empires are only half the story? Today we're diving into a pivotal period in Egyptian history often overshadowed by pharaohs and pyramids. Welcome to Blind History with Josh Berry.
Over the next few weeks, we'll be diving into the history of Egypt. Along for the ride, we are joined by our resident Egyptian expert, who will help us explore this wonderfully rich and fascinating history, from a Byzantine province to a cornerstone of the Islamic world. We'll be exploring the dynasties that shaped this transition, revealing the complex interplay of culture, religion, and power that laid the foundation for medieval Egypt.
Thanks for having me. It's a fascinating period, really a crucible where the ancient world met new forces, and Egypt was forever changed.
So we're looking at Egypt under Islamic rule before the Ottomans. What's the big picture here?
It's a story of profound change. We often think of Egypt as this static, ancient land, but between the 7th and 10th centuries, it underwent a complete makeover. It shifted from being a neglected outpost of the Byzantine Empire to the very heart of the Islamic world.
A total makeover, you say? What did that actually look like?
Think language, religion, even the layout of cities. It was a painful, sometimes violent, but ultimately irreversible transition that set the stage for the great sultanates that followed.
Let's zero in on the start of this transformation. How did the Arab Conquest actually unfold?
Well, by the 7th century, Egypt was ripe for change. Decades of war between the Byzantines and Persians had left the region devastated. Thus, the local Coptic population was deeply alienated by the Byzantine Empire's religious policies and heavy taxation. They were imposing the Chalcedonian doctrine on the local Miaphysite population.
So it wasn't just a military conquest, but a shift in popular sentiment as well.
Absolutely. The Arab armies, led by General Amr ibn al-As, arrived in 639 CE. They were relatively small in number, but incredibly mobile and adept at psychological warfare. They bypassed heavily fortified areas and focused on key strategic points.
And it was a swift victory, as I understand?
Surprisingly so. The Byzantines put up a fight, of course, but the local population offered little support. Amr's forces captured key fortresses like Babylon, and by 641, they had negotiated the Pact of Alexandria, which guaranteed religious freedom for the Copts in exchange for taxes.
That's fascinating. Religious freedom in exchange for taxes. So, how did this Pact of Alexandria lay the groundwork for Islamic Egypt?
It was a pragmatic move. The Arabs realized they were a minority, ruling over a diverse population. Instead of forcing conversions, they allowed religious freedom in exchange for a poll tax, the jizya, and a land tax, the kharaj. This ensured stability and a steady flow of revenue.
And this is where we see the shift away from Alexandria?
Exactly. Instead of ruling from the vulnerable coastal city of Alexandria, Amr established a new administrative center, Fustat, near modern-day Cairo. This marked a decisive shift inland, both geographically and politically.
Fustat, that becomes a recurring element in this story, doesn't it? A center of power and later a prize to be fought over. Precisely. It's the nucleus from which Islamic Egypt would grow. Now let's fast forward a bit. How did the Umayyad Caliphate impact Egypt?
Under the Umayyads, who shifted the Islamic capital to Damascus, Egypt became essentially a giant breadbasket. Its primary function was to supply the empire with grain and fund its expansion.
So, less about culture and more about resources?
Precisely. The Umayyads reopened the ancient canal of the pharaohs to ship grain directly to Mecca and Medina. Early Islamic administration in Egypt was highly pragmatic and relied on existing provincial structures.
Pragmatic, meaning?
They kept Coptic and Greek scribes to manage land registers and collect taxes. For the average peasant, life didn't change much. Their taxes simply went to a new address.
But that didn't last, did it?
No. As the Umayyad state grew, so did its financial needs. Governors were pressured to maximize tax revenues, leading to corruption and resentment. They even started settling Arab tribes in the eastern delta to solidify their control, which further angered the local Copts.
And this sparked revolts.
Indeed. In 725 CE, the first Bashmoric revolt erupted. The Copts, fed up with excessive taxation and the arrogance of the Arab settlers, launched a guerrilla war against the Umayyad tax collectors. It was brutally suppressed, but it set a precedent for future resistance.
So, even under Islamic rule, there was internal conflict and resistance. And
Absolutely, and it highlights a key point. The Islamization of Egypt was a slow process. The Umayyads didn't encourage mass conversions because it would reduce their jizya revenues. Greek and Coptic remained in use in official documents.
it was a complex, multi-layered bureaucracy, wasn't it? It wasn't until the late 7th century that Arabic became the sole official language. Exactly. Now, shifting gears, what happened when the Abbasids came to power?
The Abbasid Revolution in 750 CE marked a significant shift. They overthrew the Umayyads and moved the capital to Baghdad. For Egypt, this meant it was no longer a core province, but a distant, wealthy territory to be exploited.
A cash cow, basically.
Precisely. To symbolize this new era, the Abbasid governors founded a new administrative capital next to Fustat, called al-Askar. But Abbasid rule was marked by instability.
Instability how?
Governors were constantly replaced or assassinated, creating a political vacuum. Tax policies became even more oppressive, leading to more revolts.
Another Bashmuric revolt?
The big one. In 1831 CE, the final and most devastating Bashmuric revolt erupted. This time, it united the oppressed Copts and disgruntled Arab settlers, all crushed by the Abbasid tax farmers.
That must have been a serious threat.
It was. The Abbasid Caliph al-Mamun himself traveled to Egypt with a massive army to suppress it in 1832 CE. The rebellion was crushed with extreme violence, villages burned, mass executions, and thousands enslaved or deported.
A turning point, it sounds like.
Absolutely. The destruction of the Coptic resistance broke their political power forever. From the mid-9th century onward, conversions to Islam accelerated due to tax incentives, social pressures, and intermarriage.
So we're seeing a gradual but definite shift in the religious landscape.
Exactly. And the arrival of Turkic military regiments further changed the ethnic makeup of the ruling class, further alienating the local population.
This brings us to the Tulunids, right? Egypt's first taste of real independence under Islamic rule.
Correct. The sheer difficulty of governing such a wealthy, distant province from Baghdad inevitably led to the rise of autonomous dynasties, and the first major break came with honored Ibn Tulun.
Tell us about him.
Ibn Tulun was a Turkic military slave who rose through the ranks of the Abbasid court. He was appointed governor of Egypt in 1868 CE and quickly transformed his governorship into an independent emirate.
How did he pull that off?
His first move was financial. He simply stopped sending Egypt's tax revenues to Baghdad. With that wealth, he launched an economic and architectural renaissance.
So it all comes down to money, really.
In many ways, yes. He built a new royal city called al-Khattab, modeled after the Abbasid capital, Samarra. It featured vast public squares, palaces, and a famous hospital that provided free medical care.
And let's not forget his mosque.
The Mosque of Ahmad ibn Tulun, completed in 879 CE, is a masterpiece. It's one of the oldest and most magnificent mosques in the world, known for its brick piers, stucco carvings, and unique spiral minaret.
It's a testament to his ambition and vision. So this was a golden age for Egypt.
Economically, yes. Ibn Tulun invested in infrastructure, repaired irrigation canals, and built a massive army. He even expanded Egypt's borders, invading Syria and the Levant.
But it didn't last, did it? Golden ages rarely do.
True. After Ibn Tulun's death, his son Kumaraway inherited the throne, but was known for his extravagance, bankrupting the state treasury. After his assassination, the dynasty descended into infighting, and the Abbasids retook control in 905 CE.
And they burned al-Khattab to the ground, didn't they?
Almost completely. They destroyed the city, sparing only the Great Mosque, and brought Egypt back under Baghdad's direct rule. Which leads us to the Ikhshidids, the light of Eger, Ka-now-na-na-na-na, which leads us to the Ikhshidids.
Another dynasty rising from the ashes.
More like an Anakid interlude, the Abbasid restoration was a disaster, marked by corruption, military mutinies, and invasions from the Fatimids in North Africa. The Abbasid state was financially ruined and couldn't maintain order.
Enter Muhammad ibn Tudeh.
In 1935 CE, Baghdad appointed him governor, hoping he could stabilize the province. He was granted the title al-Ikhshid, meaning prince or king, and like Ibn Tulun, he quickly realized that relying on Baghdad was pointless.
So, another strong man taking charge.
Exactly. He crushed rebellions, repelled the Fatimids, and seized control of Syria and the Hijaz, creating another independent Egyptian state. But the most fascinating figure of this era wasn't a king, but a slave.
Abu al-Misk Kafur, right? The Ethiopian eunuch who rose to power.
Indeed, Kafur rose through the military ranks to become the supreme commander and tutor to the Ikhshid sons. For 22 years, he ruled Egypt as the de facto sovereign with an iron fist and brilliant political cunning.
A slave ruling Egypt. It's an incredible story.
It is. He was also a patron of the arts, hosting the famous poet al-Mutanabbi at his court. But despite his competence, the Ikhshidid state was decaying. The economy relied on military extortion, and agriculture was collapsing.
And then came the famine.
In 1968 CE, a series of catastrophic low Niles triggered mass famine, hyperinflation, and outbreaks of plague. The Ikhshidid army, unpaid and starving, splintered into warring factions. The Egyptian state was paralyzed, setting the stage for the Fatimid invasion.
A perfect storm of disaster.
Absolutely. The Fatimids, watching from Tunisia, saw their opportunity and seized it, marking a new chapter in Egyptian history. This is where Egypt's story transitions. I want to read a brief excerpt from the source material to highlight the state of affairs at that time. The Egyptian state was paralyzed, its people starving, and its military in ruins. Across the Western Desert, in modern-day Tunisia, the Fatimid Caliphate watched this collapse with predatory anticipation.
That's a grim picture. What strikes you about that quote?
The phrase predatory anticipation is key. It encapsulates the opportunistic nature of the Fatimid invasion, preying on a state weakened by internal strife and natural disasters. It also underscores the power vacuum that existed in Egypt at that moment.
And that power vacuum, as you say, was a recurring theme, wasn't it? From the Byzantines to the Umayyads to the Abbasids, Egypt was often a prize fought over by distant empires. Precisely. Now, let's jump to the Fatimid Caliphate.
How did they change the game?
In 1969 CE, the Fatimids, a Shia dynasty, marched into Fustat with little resistance. They negotiated a peace treaty, guaranteeing safety and religious freedom, and restored the food supply.
So, a more benevolent approach than their predecessors?
Initially, yes, but their most significant move was founding a new capital, Cairo.
Cairo, al-Qahira, the victorious. A symbol of a new era.
Exactly. Unlike Fustat, which had grown organically, Cairo was a planned city, a royal enclosure housing the Caliph, his court, and the elite military guards. It was designed to project power and legitimacy.
An Al-Azhar mosque.
Crucial. It was built to be the spiritual heart of the new capital, a training ground for Ismaili missionaries. Ironically, it would later become one of the most prestigious Sunni Islamic universities in the world.
That's quite a twist of fate. How did the Fatimids manage to create such a prosperous era?
They capitalized on global trade. As the Persian Gulf route became unstable, they redirected the Indian Ocean spice trade through the Red Sea, bringing immense wealth to Egypt.
Smart move. And their religious tolerance?
It was pragmatic. As a Shia minority, they promoted meritocracy over religious affiliation. A Jewish convert, Yaqub ibn Kilis, became the Fatimid vizier and restructured the state's tax system, making the Fatimid gold dinar the standard currency of the Mediterranean.
So, a melting pot of talent and trade?
Indeed, but this era of tolerance was interrupted by the reign of al-Hakim.
The Mad Caliph, as he's sometimes called.
Al-Hakim was an erratic and terrifying ruler. He issued bizarre edicts, banned certain activities, and, most devastatingly, ordered the destruction of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem in 1009 CE.
That act had huge repercussions, didn't it?
It sent shockwaves through Christendom and helped lay the groundwork for the First Crusade. Al-Hakim eventually vanished mysteriously, leaving behind a splinter sect that revered him as divine.
And after al-Hakim, the decline?
The Fatimid state began a long, agonizing decline. The caliphs became figureheads, while military viziers fought for power. The army turned the streets of Cairo into a battleground.
Culminating in the Mustan Syria crisis.
Yes, from 1065 to 1072 CE, a 7-year famine combined with military looting led to such severe conditions that some resorted to cannibalism. The crisis only ended when the Armenian general Badr al-Jamali was invited in as a military dictator.
So, a descent in the chaos, mirroring some of the earlier periods we discussed.
Precisely. It highlights a common assumption we often make about historical narratives, that progress is linear. The story of Islamic Egypt shows us that empires rise and fall, often repeating patterns of expansion, overreach, and internal conflict.
That's a great point. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking things only move forward. Before we wrap up, let's talk about the Ayyubids and Saladin.
By the 12th century, the Fatimid state was caught between the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem and the Summi Zengid dynasty of Syria. After a series of proxy wars, Saladin, a Kurdish general, seized control of Cairo in 1069 CE.
And ended the Fatimid Caliphate.
In 1171 CE, Saladin abolished the Fatimid Caliphate and restored Egypt's allegiance to the Abbasid Caliph in Baghdad, though in reality he founded his own empire, the Ayyubid dynasty.
The Sunni Restoration.
Exactly. Saladin purged Ismaili loyalists, transformed Fatimid palaces into Sunni colleges, and heavily sponsored the Shafi'i school of jurisprudence to re-educate the Egyptian populace.
And he built the citadel of Cairo, a lasting symbol of his power.
Indeed, recognizing Cairo's vulnerability, he ordered the construction of the citadel on the Mokatom Hills, a massive fortress intended to protect the city. And Egypt became the engine driving the war against the Crusaders.
It all comes full circle, doesn't it? From being conquered to becoming a major power player.
It does, and it highlights the resilience and strategic importance of Egypt throughout history. The land itself, its resources, and its people have always made it a key prize, and its leaders have adapted and innovated to maintain their power.
So, to recap, we've journeyed through centuries of transformation, from Byzantine province to Islamic powerhouse, witnessing the rise and fall of dynasties, the clash of cultures, and the enduring spirit of Egypt.
Exactly. We've seen how Egypt navigated religious transitions, economic shifts, and military conflicts, always adapting and reinventing itself. One quote comes to mind. Over the course of 3 centuries, Egypt transitioned from a heavily exploited, culturally alienated border province of the Byzantine Empire into the beating heart of the Islamic world.
That really brings it all together. So, what's the key takeaway here?
Perhaps the most important insight is understanding that the narrative of Islamic Egypt's early dynasties is not just about conquest and rule, but about cultural fusion and adaptation. It's a reminder that history is not a fixed script, but a dynamic process of change and reinvention.
And why does this history matter today?
Because it challenges our assumptions about cultural identity and historical progress. It reminds us that even seemingly stable societies are constantly evolving, shaped by internal conflicts and external forces. Understanding this complex past can help us navigate the challenges of our own rapidly changing world.
So we'll wrap it up here for today, but stay tuned for more history of Egypt. The full audio article will be released this upcoming Sunday for a thorough exploration of this fascinating history. Next, we will be exploring Ottoman Egypt, Muhammad Ali, British occupation, and the road to modern Egypt. Join us next time on Blind History with Josh Berry. As we reflect on the echoes of Islamic Egypt, we are left to ponder this. How do the lessons of cultural fusion, adaptation, and resilience in ancient Egypt inform our understanding of identity and progress in the modern world?